Hey there, Shauna Karish here with another Ask Shauna answer. Today's comes from Lizzie and it says, hey, does anyone use positive reinforcement and compete in any discipline? I've always been competitive, but since discovering positive reinforcement training and a whole new way of training my horses, I'm wondering whether it's possible to combine competing and positive reinforcement. I'm supposed to be competing my mare in elementary level dressage at the start of November. She isn't clicker trained, but starting to feel disheartened when riding her as it all feels so forced compared to the partnership I have with my clicker trained horse. And I think that this is a really I love this because this is the difference. And like I've said, I've said this before, even Olympic level riders will feel a difference with their horse once they start introducing positive reinforcement. And they'll be like, we had a great connection before. So when I started, I had 10 years with marine mammal training. And people kind of forget that we were in the training department. We didn't do anything, but we trained all the time and utilizing the positive reinforcement. So that's what I did. I just knew positive reinforcement. And then when I went to horses, I was a marine mammal trainer who went to horses. So the first place I went was the first where I started my business actually. And when I first went into horses, I really went and began working with BZ Madden and her husband, John Madden. And BZ Madden is Olympic gold medalist and really a lovely rider and really soft rider. So it definitely can be done. I worked with not only BZ, but other Olympic riders and international competitors in show jumping and dressage and eventing and driving. So it is definitely something that can be done. I think the key is being sure that your horse actually likes what they're doing and the discipline that we're doing. And I think what is hard about this is through traditional training, we're not really taught to pay as much attention to the emotions that are part of this and really recognizing if the horse is liking this part or not. So it is definitely something that can be done, but it's being sure that they really like, understand, and choose to do the discipline at home, whatever it is you want to compete in. Do they do it at home? Do they seem like they want to do it at home? Are they happy and engaged and showing up and wanting to do that? And that is a key element. And I think this can be a tricky thing for some people to recognize, or to sometimes, I'm going to say, be honest with really thinking, gosh, I don't want to hear that they don't like this. So it can be a hard thing. And I think we haven't always been taught to really truly recognize, are they happy? The other thing I think is really important, and I think this is really hard a lot of times for trainers and competitors, is to kind of let our agenda go. So just because we think this is what we should be doing or this is what we want to do, to really go at the horse's pace is a lot different. And I think we need to kind of let that go if we're really going to do it with positive reinforcement, being sure that the horse is a happy participant in the whole process. So then the other portion is preparing them for the actual show environment. So let's say you have a horse who's great. He loves dressage, since that's kind of the question. Loves dressage, great at home, does it, engaged, really happy. But then sometimes the show environment can be too much for a lot of horses. So the show environment is something we can prepare them for separately. Some horses, really confident, bold horses, I found, tend to go to shows and think it's just great because there's a lot of stuff to see and do, and they're not as worried about that. But for more horses than not, it can be a pretty scary and overwhelming environment. So by teaching them with the positive reinforcement we can condition them through systematic desensitization and counter conditioning. We can teach them that new things, instead of being scary and fear inducing, we can teach them new sights, sounds, situations actually are new opportunities for positive reinforcement. And pretty soon they start looking at new things as a good thing versus looking at new situations as something that might be frightening or being neophobic about new things. So I think that that's an important element. And I think in that, so we can get many horses where they actually can look at going to the show and think it's a great thing. But I think that there's some horses that it is not their thing and it won't be. And it is going to always be a bit more challenging. And those horses, no matter how good they are at home, I think in fairness to the horse, Some horses just, it's not what they're going to be good at and what they should be heading out to do. So to be really objective and honest and looking at if your horse is truly happy with what you're asking them to do, and then can we really help them to get good in that environment, are really big questions. And it definitely can be done. I have seen horses who are quite happy and enjoy the showing and the show environment, but it's been in a long, systematic, patient way that we have prepared them for those places. So taking a horse, this is going to kind of be going back a step. So taking a horse and retraining them, now that's a little bit of a different prospect. Trying to figure out where they are with their current training and if they like their current training is a big thing to figure out. So if I feel like I have a horse who's pretty worried about most of their training or shut down, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to teach them like they're a baby. And I'm going to make sure that I'm building a strong positive reinforcement history with each and every behavior. So I know that I've built it up properly and their history behind it is a good solid one. If sometimes though I find a certain area where I'm like, I think you're fine. I don't see anything that gives me any glimmer that this is a worry for you. So in those situations, I'll just move on. I'll reinforce the behavior and the good responses to build a good, strong reinforcement history, but I don't feel like I need to unpack that behavior like I would if it was a worry thing. So a good example of that is a lot of crossover horses that are now being trained with positive reinforcement. We typically don't have to go back and teach haltering and leading again. You know, it's something that they know they can do. They've moved on. It's not something that they harbor worry about. So in that situation, I just move on. I will reinforce them for putting on their halter nicely and walking nicely, but I don't feel like I have to necessarily undo it unless they're showing me there's an issue with it. So retraining the horse who maybe has been a show horse, that can be a bit trickier because they can have, instead of kind of being a neutral-ish history, they can actually have a kind of scary history. And so it can make it a little bit harder for them to overcome some things. If they've been flooded by going to a really overwhelming environment or feeling extra pressure when they get there, then sometimes getting them to a better place can take some time. I think one of the things too, if we're going to prepare our horses to go to shows or retrain them to go to shows, I think it's important to go to the show environment without showing. So show up and maybe ride, but break it down so you can build a good, strong reinforcement history with all the elements without feeling the pressure of the show. And then go slow until you feel like they're really solid, or figuring out, are they solid or are they not solid? Do they like it? Do they not like it? So I think that is an important element, is breaking it down and going to just some schooling shows and not being afraid to kind of go against the grain and say, I'm going to feed this good response and I'm going to use my target. And then people are going to be like, what are you doing? But I think it's really important, if we want to do that, we don't compromise what we have made a choice for. So as this is our choice to work with the horses, I think it's really important that we not compromise that. If this is a decision we made, stick with it and don't let the peer pressure overwhelm you. And the other thing is, keep in mind when we go to a show, a lot of times when we go to a show, we have our own kind of excitement and adrenaline and pieces. So if you go to a show and you're not showing, it gives you a chance to slow down and really objectively pay attention to each little element of the show and the show environment and the performance, and see how your horse is doing. So it is definitely something that can be done. When I first saw, I've seen horses who are quite good and do enjoy the show environment. And those horses, frankly, find it harder to be in just a field somewhere because they're like, I like stuff, and so I've definitely seen some really happy horses, but I'm going to be honest, more often than not, I don't see horses that I would say are happy, but it's possible to make that and create that. It's just a different process, and it takes a lot of real objectivity to keep an honest assessment of how they're doing. Anyway, so I do hope that helps you out. It's definitely capable of being done, but it needs to be done in a really systematic and thorough way to be sure that they like all the elements that are part of showing. Anyway, Lizzie, I hope that helps you out. I think it's a great question, and it's a question that a lot of times people will assume that it's all bad, and showing doesn't need to be bad at all. It just depends on how we go about it and how we help them to perceive the little pieces. And we don't do it with our agenda or just to serve us. We truly think, does this add to their quality of life? I think that's the big question for me in everything I do. I want to think, does this add to your quality of life? And if it does, really does, then I want to continue with that. But if it doesn't, then I'm going to make a different choice. Anyway, so if you have more questions, you or anybody else, please don't hesitate to go to to go to my website, www.on-target-training.com. And on there's a tab that says Ask Shauna, and you can submit your questions there. Also, you can go to my podcast, which is called Equine Clicker 101, and that is also from my website. You can go to the podcast tab, and sometimes it's going to the classroom and then to the lab where we walk through some situations with positive reinforcement, and I'm adding to it all the time. I do 2 a month. Anyway, so there you go. And if you want to learn what I'm up to with positive reinforcement or up to with my schedule, go to terranovatrainingcenter.com. That's where I'm based out of. And this is a project where we are working to bring positive reinforcement training, have a place. It's a whole barn full of positive reinforcement training and trying to make it more user-friendly and out in the world. Anyway, there you go. And until next time, enjoy getting your horse on target. Bye.